This is our presentation on Islam in Europe by Timothy Spezia, Franco Broda, Julissa Herrera, and Matthew Reed. The question we asked was, how has the European population responded to the influx of Islamic population and their cultural ideals? Islamophobia is a word used to describe discrimination against the Islamic faith. It originated in 1997 in Great Britain. Runnymede Trust, a group who dedicates itself to being a multi-ethnic society in Britain, published a book titled Islamophobia, A Challenge for Us All, which speaks on why Islamic people are difficult to deal with. Islamophobia has increased since 9/11, not just in the United States but around the world. Jews and Muslims have been identified as scapegoats for political and social problems throughout different cultures. Anti-immigrant attitudes have been on the rise in Europe in recent years, and most minor groups have resented Islamic faith people, such as in organizations like Patriotic Europeans Against Islamization of the West.
A major cultural threat in the relations of Muslims and Europeans include the migration of Muslims into Europe. The increase of migration of Muslims has caused two completely different cultures to collide, resulting in tensions between the two. Also, the creation of a myth of a Muslim threat causes a problem of Islam in Europe. This causes fear in Europeans and prejudice of Muslims. The cultural differences is also a huge factor in the relations of Europeans and Muslims. Two completely diverse cultures collide and cause the issue of defending their own culture and assimilating the other. Tensions from media can also be blamed. Publications of magazines about the Islamic way of life and ridiculing and creating certain stereotypes about Muslims and results in a separation and even more violence. All these factors result in the creation of stereotypes and a prejudice of Muslims, which can lead to violence and problems between the two cultures.
Many Dutch citizens are afraid of possible attacks from Muslims in the Netherlands, despite little real evidence of an attack in the future. A big reason for this is the Charlie Hebdo attacks in France. It shocked people all around the world, especially in the Netherlands. Over the last 10 years, the Netherlands' tensions have increased, with more violence on each side. The threat level in the Netherlands is considered substantial, meaning that the chance of an attack is very possible. In addition to the fear of a physical attack from Islamic people in the Netherlands, many people don't like the large number of Muslim immigrants coming into the Netherlands. These people don't think the Muslim immigrants will be able to connect with Dutch society and fear that this could create even more divisions within the nation. All of these factors have built up into one nationwide reaction to the possible cultural threats that Muslims pose to the people of the Netherlands. Over the last couple hundred years, the Netherlands as a whole has been very tolerant of different religions and cultures. However, due to the supposed threat that Muslims pose to culture and society in the Netherlands, the people there have become increasingly Islamophobic. The Dutch government has taken a hard line against communism, a hard line against immigration of Islamic people into the Netherlands, trying to discourage it as much as possible. These and other negative reactions toward Muslims in the Netherlands is shown perfectly by Geert Wilders' Freedom Party, which is one of the biggest political parties in the country. Wilders say that Islam isn't actually a religion. They say that it's a totalitarian ideology. The political party wants to close Muslim schools, destroy their mosques, and stop immigration from countries that are mostly Muslim. So many people agree with this view, mostly because Islamic people are seen by many as incompatible with Western values, mostly free world and democracy.
French society has perceived Islamic culture and tradition as a threat to French culture. They fear Islamic values will endanger the French way of life. They fear Islamic faith will overtake Catholicism as the major religion. Another perceived threat to French culture is France's political ideology of democracy. Since Islamic culture is against certain freedoms such as those of religion, speech, and press, France worries that the view of democracy will be altered or even permanently changed. Another fear is that their secular lifestyle will be changed due to Muslims' lifestyle of focusing and valuing religion of life. Muslims are much more spiritual than France is. The French people believe these fears are rational and logical, since Muslims are believed to be all radical and extremist in their nature. French society fear they will be unable and unwilling to compromise and share their beliefs with those of France, since Muslims are generally non-tolerant. French society have reacted to these cultural threats in various ways, but all are in a negative manner. French people have become more racist towards Muslims and have a discriminatory fashion in their confront. Muslims have the highest rate of unemployment as a minority. They also generally have less chance of employment in high-end jobs. Muslims generally are put to work in the low class. They also typically live in neighborhoods with people of the same descent. Muslims are faced with trouble in being allowed to enter equally in French society. Many French people have attempted to drive out Muslims out of France by acting rebellious towards their ideals, such as burning their mosques, banning their burqa, and making life unappealing for Muslims in France. French population has also had a reoccurrence in Islamophobia, revitalized by the recent Charlie Hebdo attacks. This also caused cultural threats to seem very possible, since Muslims terrorized French satirical newspapers for criticizing Islamic beliefs in their leaders, which shows that certain Muslims are unaccepting of freedom of speech and press. This caused France to panic and react rebellious towards Muslims, and caused many to fear all Muslims and try to stop them from entering France, since they were seen as being a danger to the French way of life. In conclusion, Europe has reacted to the influx of Muslim population negatively. Many countries have become generally Islamophobic and perceive Muslim culture as being a threat to the differing way of life of their nations. These fears, in turn, cause discrimination and racism towards Muslims in these nations. This is our works cited, and this therefore concludes our presentation on Islam in Europe. Hope you enjoyed it.